Hello. Today I will be bringing you a commentary, or a much requested commentary at that, ever since I did my Nagata commentary, for the Amagi, the natural follow-up. And of course, these days matchmaking seems to be quite favorable to T8s. At T7 it feels like you get mostly matched against T6s and T5s, and at T8 it feels like you get mostly matched against T6 and T7. But there should be a fair amount of competition here to make this a worthwhile commentary. Now I start off by giving my team direction, usually a good idea to give them a straight up advice. On this map I hate going A because it's so out of the way and so isolated that it usually ends up being a trap. Now, my Amagi isn't actually fully upgraded. For some reason, you need an absolutely ridiculous amount of XP to actually fully upgrade this ship. Like, it's something like 80k XP to just get the range upgrade. Like, you have to upgrade 2 hulls before you can even upgrade the range. And the first hull upgrade, I think 20k or something. And then the second one is 39k. And then there's the accuracy or the gun upgrade or the range upgrade, that's another 22k. So you end up needing like 80k XP just to get to the range upgrade. Luckily the first hull upgrade has all the important upgrades, so you're not really in a hurry to get the rest, but it will take some getting used to. And in this case I'm still playing with my 18 kilometer range, which you're going to be stuck with for quite a while, so you better get used to playing with 18 kilometers. Now, since I'm the one in the front, the Turpits, the Bismarck, all the cruisers, they're all focusing on me, of course. But I don't mind. Eating a little bit of damage in the start isn't a big deal. And unlike the Nagata, which is quite squishy when showing any sort of broadside, I mean, of course all battleships get punished when showing broadside, but the Amagi is significantly better armored, and you can tank quite a bit in this ship. I mean, of course you don't have any turtle back like the Turpits and the Bismarck and these guys, but you're still a fairly tanky ship, and it doesn't feel nearly as squishy as the Nagata did. Now, the AA is decent, but honestly, you only get that really strong AA when you unlock the first or the second hull upgrade. So there's a really long upgrade path. I don't really know why it's so long, but it's so much XP you have to invest into getting it. Of course, taking potshots at the Pensacola whenever I see it, as I said in my commentary of the Pensacola itself. It's a very juicy target because it's so easy to citadel. The same thing of course applies to the Mogami. It's also, once again, mentioned in my commentary, you can't be showing any sort of broadside in that thing, and even if you need to be pretty much fully angled to have any chance, or just avoid shells in general, if you show broadside and you get a hit, it's likely to be a citadel. So the Mogami is also a very unforgiving ship. So of course cruisers in general are ships that I love taking potshots at. In the Nagata I kind of preferred shooting battleships more than cruisers, mostly because you have only 8 guns, but they are very powerful. On the Amagi of course you gain another turret, so you have 10 guns in this case, and when you start shooting 10 guns worth of volleys, going for cruisers tends to become a lot more consistent. Basically, the more guns you have, of course, the higher chance of deleting cruisers. For example, the Fuso, because it has 12 guns, is one of my favorite battleships, especially even if you get up tiered. Like, I regularly absolutely crush T8 cruisers and stuff with it, simply because the sheer amount of shells you pump out. Taking potshots, there's an Bayern, he's angled, but Bayern can't really angle against the size of your shells. Same thing applies to T7s. T8s, they start to be able to angle, and especially if they're German, of course, Bismarck and Turpits, they have very strong bow armor. There was some talk about nerfing the bow armor of the ships, but VG have scrapped that plan since it was obviously a terrible plan to begin with. Okay, let's see. Tempted to go for those two, but the Mogami... Oh, Mutsuki. Okay. I scrapped my plans for the Mogami and I go fully for the Mutsuki since he appears to be rushing me. So of course, since I already started my turn left, I'm gonna commit to it full turn left, and I'll of course shot my full volley at him, letting my secondaries open up on him, and I turn away. It looks like he shot his torps on the Gneiser now. It appears, I just saw the Mutsuki of course has 2x3 torps, so it looks like he shot his torps there, so I should be safe by now. But just in case it wasn't some other DD who shot them, I'm making sure to stay angled until I deal with this threat. another pot shot. Yeah, it looks like those were his torps. I should have been seeing them soon otherwise. Of course, the best way to deal with the rushing DD is to just kite away from him, let your secondaries and, well, your main guns slowly tear him apart. You, of course, have very slow reload on a battleship and especially on the Amagi. But, of course, if you kite away, you can easily deal with them. One of the bonuses of the Amagi is that it's quite fast, though. Sluggishness is no longer an issue when you reach the T8. I don't think there's any real sluggish battleships at T8 anymore. They all start to gain a nice amount of speed, and the Amagi is of course no exception. You're quite fast and quite agile, which is of course very nice, especially since you have to play so long with the limited 18-kilometer range. Now, since the Mutsuki has been dealt with, and I know where the other Mutsuki is, I want to push in, of course. So people who know my playstyle know that I like to play a bit more aggressive, but running into the Mutsuki is of course an issue. Now, sadly, it looks like a Bayern has decided to charge into A, even though we kinda agreed on going to BC, so that Bayern is of course guaranteed dead. There's always, for some reason, there's always that one dude. There's one dude who's like, I have this great plan, and then he runs off somewhere and dies, and then he blames team usually afterwards. Bayern is contesting C. There is a Cyclone head coming soon, and I don't really mind it, but of course a Cyclone is always going to be an advantage to German battleships, because they of course excel at brawling. The Amagi is not so much of a brawler, simply because we're slow reload. Most of his turrets are in the back, not in the front, and it doesn't have the triple turret setup, and in general it doesn't have any torps. The secondaries are decent, but they're not that special because they shoot AP, not just pure HE, like for example Bismarck secondaries. So it's not really a brawling battleship at all. Of course, in the past this battleship used to be highly popular in Clan Wars and Ranked because of its long-range accuracy. In fact, it used to be the most accurate battleship at T8, which is why everyone used it as a long-range support basically. And as you can see, very reliable. That was what, 20k with I shot 10 shells and 5 penetrations out of that. So it can be very accurate at long ranges and very punishing. But of course it lacks turret placement like North Carolina does, and because of all the buffs to the North Carolina and the inclusion of the Bismarck, the Amagi has kind of been displaced out of the meta. So it's not that popular in Clan Wars and such, especially in the EU meta. But that doesn't mean that it's still not a very strong battleship. I mean, if another battleship gives you broadside, you can just punish them extremely heavily. I make a hard turn here simply because that Mutsuki just showed himself right in front of our face. So there's a high chance of being torped, and I don't want to take that risk. So even though I maybe possibly could have finished off the Nagato, I didn't want to risk eating a bunch of torps just because I was greedy. Now we are down quite a lot of ships. We are 5 versus 10. So we're 5 versus 10 at this point. Okay, that's gonna be awkward. Well, it's 5 versus 9 now. And the Cyclone has hit, and this is gonna need to be basically a hell of a lot of work need to be done here. Mutsuki is rushing the turrets on me. Turning so my turrets can catch up. Helping out the turrets, of course. Oh, finally got a kill. That earlier Mutsuki I didn't get. 5 versus 8. From 5 versus 10 to 5 versus 8. Oh, he did torque me. But of course I changed my course and I went full speed. And here I start turning hard left to swing basically the rear end, the stern end of my ship away from the torps. That's why you always turn into torps in general, just to swing your ship out of the way. Okay, now I'm telling our DDs that they cannot die, because we have a huge advantage here. Basically, at this point, all their DDs are dead. We have 2 DDs, 1 cruiser, 2 BBs. Our best chance of winning in domination is, after we have killed all their DDs, our best chance of winning for me is to kill their cruisers. So hopefully I'll be able to find their cruisers, because if I can delete their cruisers, then we're going to have a huge advantage, because then our DDs can basically roam free. But they have some huge threats like the Chapaev, a radar cruiser, and of course the Nürnberg, which potential Hydra cruiser. So there's a lot of stuff to work through until this has any chance of becoming a victory. Still, we have 2 caps simply because the team followed my... I pushed in and the team in general followed my call of going BC, which is always nice to see. Our DDs did a good work of securing the caps for us, so that's nice. Okay, surprise Turpits. Turpits is pretty screwed, honestly. He's being shot at from every angle. That was a dumb torp, dude. That was a very dumb torp. I was hoping I could dodge that, but I ended up eating it. I was a bit too cocky about how well I could turn, and I ate an unnecessary torp. The torp belt is decent on the ship though, so not the end of the world, but still of course frustrating. Now our torp, that's... I don't know why our Turpis is rushing him. He should have just slowed down, because that enemy Turpis is guaranteed dead. He's giving broadside. My next reload I will delete him. Oh no, he rushed to torp him and he ate torps in return. Okay, that was... I mean... We're 5 versus 7 now, but that was... We could have killed that guy without him taking all that damage. That was honestly really dumb. That was such a bad trade. We were 4 versus 1. We were 4 guys against one single enemy battleship. We could have killed him without losing pretty much any HP. So taking that sort of trade was just completely unnecessary and quite dumb. Of course, Nagata, as I said in my commentary, about this ship, you cannot give full broadside in it. If you do, well, that happens, what I just showed you. I think this is the second time I've citadeled that guy, so yeah, he should be learning by this time that, you see, as soon as he starts angling, suddenly he's bouncing shells. But when he gives me that full broadside, he just eats these massive volleys. Of course, now I aim a bit higher, because I want to shoot his superstructure instead of his belt, because angling can't save your superstructure, and I get a penetration on the superstructure, which gets me the kill. If someone is angling like that, just go for the slightly above the belt, so you hit like the deck and the superstructure instead of trying to hit that angled belt, which is probably going to bounce your shells. Like, even though the Amagi has some nice firepower, you're not going to be able to penetrate an angled armor. So it's gone from a 5 versus 10 to 5 versus 6. Still not exactly optimal, but it looks like the comeback is on its way now. The Cyclone, well, it's kind of an issue at this point. I mean, okay, we found the Mogami, that's good. Being able to delete the cruisers at range would of course be good, but then again, being able to sneak up on them like this isn't bad either. Mogami, of course, any sort of broadside given on a Mogami is a guaranteed citadel pretty much. So here, giving this much broadside is going to be an easy deletion right there. I didn't even need a citadel, I just got 3 penetrations. Of course, now they know exactly where I am though, since I've showed up on their minimaps. The Nürnberg was last seen here, so if I can find him, there we go. The Nürnberg is of course another very flimsy cruiser. Oh, but the Bismarck is also here, that's a huge issue. And the Bayern. Okay then. Oh, and the Fusa, they were all moving as a pack. Yeah, life just got a lot harder now. Let's see if... Well, I need to get rid of the Nürnberg. If I can get rid of the Nürnberg, then our DDs will have a much easier time. So let's try to delete the Nürnberg first. He also has torps, so I can't just leave him open and let him... Okay, he's turning away now. Oh, and the Chapai, their radar cruiser. So these 2 kills are something I should need to secure. If I can secure them, then they're basically down to battleships against 2 DDs, and that's just an almost impossible fight to take. If I can just get that citadel. RNG doesn't want to give me that citadel though. Angling against the Bismarck, who has the biggest guns here. Nice, I finally got the citadel. Okay, that's one issue gone. Now let's see if I can get rid of the radar cruiser as well. Yeah, he shouldn't have gone for me like this. That's guaranteed. Okay, I want to be able to ram this... guy, but I'm so much on fire, there's so much smoke, and here I make a huge misplay. You can see all this smoke hid the fact that he was actually turning away. If I should have looked at the minimap, I noticed too late that he was turning away. I wanted to ram him, of course, to take him with me. So I do what I can, basically just do a full-on blast into him close range. Now, I could have still been able to wreck him here because his guns were the wrong way, but the Fuso shows up, his backup, and he takes me out. But still, we managed to turn it into a 4 versus 3, and of course, our DDs can now just go to work without any sort of issues. And the game ended soon after. Our DDs basically just sailed around capping the map, or our Ognavoid did mostly. sailing around capping the map, and we did manage to secure the victory. So this was my first commentary on the Amagi. 178k. I mean, it could have been better if I hadn't missed the RAM. If I got on the RAM, I could have easily broken well over 200k. But this is still not the fully upgraded ship. So far, the Amagi seems just as strong as the last time I played it, which was a long time ago. But I will be making probably a few more commentaries, especially once I get this ship fully upgraded, which will take a while, because for some reason you need a lot of XP to do that. A stupid amount of XP, in fact. Right, as usual, I will start with the modules. Now, the first thing you really need to do is to get the B hull on this. It's such a huge upgrade in every single way. You can see the huge chunk of AA it gives, but also the torpedo protection. It's a huge difference. You go from, what was it, 20? You go up to from 27% to 45% torpedo protection. It reduces your reload time, your turret traverse. It gives you a massive AA defense boost. It even reduces your rudder shift from 20.8 to 17.3. So the B hull is an absolute must-have. The C hull, on the other hand, it just gives you a little bit of AA. That's pretty much it. It gives you nothing to guns, nothing to maneuverability, nothing to anything else. But for some reason it costs 39k XP and 2.3 million. And you need it in order to get that range upgrade, which you kind of need, especially if you end up against T10 matchmaking, or just in general a very stale game. You want that 20-kilometer range. So, my opinion, get the B hull, then get the speed upgrade from 29.5 to 31.5, and then start saving up for this ridiculous hull and range upgrade, which is for some reason stupidly expensive. Of course, I use premium repair and premium heal, worth the investment, and of course a normal catapult fighter to help with AA. Upgrade wise, main armaments mod 1, gaming systems mod 1, damage control system 1, damage control system mods 2, and of course stealth. These should be fairly straightforward. I've gone over this a million times in all my commentaries why I use these specific ones for battleships, but it's mostly comes down to I think they offer the best survivability. For some reason I take the basics of survivability, expert marksman for turret traverse, superintendent, advanced firing, or of course you can also go vigilance and then AFT. Which one of these you take first, superintendent or vigilance, is kind of up to you, but ultimately I like having them both on my builds. Basic firing training is more of a placeholder as I'm grinding up the points. I might get manual AA later, or concealment expert or something like that. Anyway, that was my first of a few to come probably, Amagi commentaries. I hope you guys enjoyed it.